Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to my presentation. My name is Vaughn, and I have 20 things I've been working on. First on parade, I'm going to talk to you about this new point sheet that I invented. I made it so that kids who have lingering issues will have access to the mainstream. Also to help encourage parents and guardians and teachers to resolve those kids' wrongdoings.
What's this point sheet called?
It's called the Account to Resolve Issues. There are all sorts of unfair consequences going on in the world. Here are 5 that seem to be the most common. One of them happens to be the way a parent or guardian decides to say, "There will be no cartoons of any kind ever unless this room stays clean. No TV at all this week." Another one of them happens to be when a teacher keeps students from a school activity whenever there is a problem at school. Another one happens to be when a teacher sends someone to time out too often because of certain habits he or she can't control. Another one happens to be when a teacher takes away a computer time that students are using to learn keyboard or math skills because of something that was done wrong in class. And this last one happens to be when a teacher doesn't allow a student to go to an after-school program because there was a problem in class or somewhere at school. Now take a look at this chart. This new chart is called the Account to Get Better Access to the Mainstream. There is a choice of anywhere between 10 and 100 days. Pick a wrongdoing or two to correct on how many days to be without doing it. Then pick on rewards for success.
Where did you get the idea for this point sheet?
This started way back in grades 2 and 3. My teacher had this rating system in levels to earn a certain number of checks in order to go to the next level. To get all the way up to a mainstream class, a certain amount of points had to be won. Not earning enough points caused students to be dropped back a level. Worst of all, having been sent to timeout caused students to be dropped all the way back to level 1. This was very discouraging.
That sounds like an unreasonable point sheet. I think it made it hard to go mainstream.
So to speak. So I decided it should be limited to fewer days. The idea merged me into experimenting with making a record of going 100 days without getting set back a level. Then I thought of all the different types of rewards that could be given for good behavior anytime through any kind of point sheet. So that's when I decided to focus on rewards.
I hope you know about some important things if you're taking consequences away from kids.
I do. The first thing I learned was that some of the students on that unreasonable level system were always trying, literally running, to save themselves from timeout. So instead of getting closer to mainstreaming, the point system was just encouraging them to run away to avoid being sent to timeout. They were still getting away with violations of the class rules.
Good point. They shouldn't get away with violations of class rules.
Another thing I encountered was another point sheet done for students. I found a plan for a reasonable one, but I learned not to offer accounts to other kids with problems because their problem was different than my plan would only work for me. And so they would have to make up their own point sheets and accounts.
It seems you put a lot of work in processing all you learned from this.
Right. The handbook tells all about the things you need to know when doing this point sheet. Right here you can see what the account looks like.
It looks to me like you got it all down.
Yes, I wrote these handbooks over and over again until I had all I needed, and then I made files that I hope someday will help me get published. Second on parade, I'm going to talk to you about this other point sheet that I invented. I made it so that teenagers have a chance to recover from unreasonable consequences. What they really need is help to get rid of the sensitivity buildup so that they remember more about the class rule violations and their wrongdoing instead of the consequence, so that they can fix the problem and not get upset.
What's this point sheet called?
It's called the Year-Long Resolution Plan. There are all sorts of unreasonable consequences in the world, but there are three that seem to be the most common.
What are they?
One of them, and it's our biggest, is spanking. It should simply not be there because it only makes the person mad and might even make them turn out to be mean instead of nice. Another one is grounding. It is taking away unrelated privileges and keeping a child from doing important or useful things not related to the wrongdoing. A big one is sending kids to time out for doing things they cannot control.
Like what?
Like being sent there for itching your face. All that does is waste their time from getting their schoolwork done, and it doesn't help the itching problem. I think I've given you enough examples so you can see what I'm driving at. Now take a look at this chart. This new chart is called the Year-Long Resolution Plan. It can go for as long as 1 year or less. Pick a consequence or two to replace with a better idea on how it will be to change it.
Where did you get the idea for that type of point sheet?
This started out towards the end of 1992. The plan was to go the whole year of 1993 without any unreasonable consequences.
How did that work out for you?
Well, it took a while. Other people did not quite understand how it was supposed to work, so they did not cooperate with me right away.
Did you try another plan?
Yes, I did. I tried a new plan.
How did things turn out then?
Better. I almost got the whole year without an unreasonable consequence like I planned. Still, I was the same me without enough access to the mainstream. Then I sort of realized that the mainstream bullies people who are different.
Did you continue working with the year-long resolution plan?
I did, as a matter of fact, and I found out what having a year-long resolution plan was all about. And soon I wrote this handbook all about how it works.
How much thought did you have for publishing these handbooks?
Quite a lot, but since I might end up hearing about some bad experiences with them, I decided to write some biographies that relate to the account to get out of unreasonable consequences in the year-long healing plan.
Are they all ready for publishing now?
Yes, they are. I have here a book set of 2 biographies and 3 handbooks to go with them. The biographies are What Happened to Gary and the sequel, Gary Remington. Third on parade, I'm going to introduce you to a new medical procedure that I help people work on, neurophysiology. This is the list of the required genetic abilities. Here are 5 examples I have for you. The first example is adapting. If there's any reason why adapting doesn't happen too well, it's because of these unadaptable situations, but mainly adapting is a genetic ability.
I didn't know it was possible to behave in an unadaptable manner. I thought people had always been able to adapt to changes needed.
No, they haven't. Did you know that each year hundreds of innocent victims of these behaviors end up in prison? These behaviors limit others' choices to either be hurt or live in jail. The second example is tolerating. If there's any reason why tolerating doesn't happen too well, it's because of these behavior problems. Did you know that these behaviors trigger reactions to a person who's ignoring disabled and get them into trouble? These behaviors create an unsafe environment for some people. The third example was restraining. The reason why there are so many problems with alcohol, tobacco, and obesity is that the genetic restraining ability is too far down. To prevent health problems, there needs to be a restraining ability of up to 80% or more. The fourth example is being flexible. Some people don't have it in their genetics to be flexible. The fifth and final example is doing things yourself. It takes one person longer to learn how to do certain things themselves, and some others can never do these things. Most things have to be learned. That is they have to be taught. So people need help, not criticism. That is one thing we can fix through neurophysiology. That's pretty much all the examples I need to give you. This is the chart of the genetic abilities. There are 24 of them here. This isn't all of them, but these are the required ones. An electronic chart will tell you all of the genetic abilities. The plus means you have it, the minus means you don't, the times means it's required, and the divided by sign means it's prudently required, and the blank means it's not required.
How do you perform neurophysiology?
When my book becomes published, read the final unit in the book and it'll lead you through the steps to perform this type of operation. Meanwhile, take a look at these pictures.